Hi, Lisa Pierce here with Packaging Digest. I have the opportunity to talk with Cole Rosengren. He's the managing editor of Packaging Dive, Waste Dive, and Manufacturing Dive at Informa Tech Target, which is a sister company to Packaging Digest's, which is under the Informa Markets engineering area of the business, of the Informa business. And Cole is going to be speaking at our event MD&M East in May 20th through the 22nd is the event at the Jacob Javits Convention Center in New York City. And I have an opportunity to talk with Cole about some of what he's going to talk about there, give us a little bit of a preview. Cole, hello. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Lisa, it's good to see you.
So before we get into the topic, which is going to be packaging trends, tell us just a little bit more about Packaging Dive and your role there.
Sure. So Packaging Dive is a daily newsletter that launched just about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago in 2023. And we focus on providing news about regulations and key events to packaging converters and their customers. We're part of what used to be the company Industry Dive. As you mentioned, we're now all part of Informa Tech Target, which is a newly formed company that just launched late last year. And as you mentioned, I'm managing editor of 3 publications in our newsroom under our verticals division.
Let me just take this opportunity to say, you guys at Packaging Dive do an awesome job on the news and insights that are happening at the supplier converter end of things. And I read Packaging Dive. So there you go.
Well, thank you, Lisa. We appreciate that.
Yeah. So you're going to be talking at MD&M East, actually in a couple of different sessions, but I'm going to focus first on the packaging trends one. It's actually the title, The Future of Packaging, 5 Key Trends Shaping 2025 and Beyond. And the 5 trends that you've identified that you're going to be talking about is regulatory and federal policy changes, industry consolidation and mergers, facility investments and automation, sustainable packaging and plastics reduction, and then number 5, market dynamics. So out of those 5 key trends, which each one of them is definitely a target of interest for the packaging industry. But out of those 5, which one do you think is going to have the most impact? And I know you said in 2025 and a little bit beyond. So let's say most impact in the next 2 years, and then why?
Yeah, within that, and it's hard to pick because there's a lot happening, obviously. I would think it would be kind of sustainable packaging regulation. And in part, one could say tariffs, but we don't actually know what's happening. And we're speaking 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, April 2nd. So we'll see what happens there. But the one thing that is predictable here is the state regulations around packaging. We know they're coming. There's more that could get passed this year, extended producer responsibility chief among them. And as we look out into that 2-year time frame, just about all of the state programs will be well underway at that point. And so this is something that folks already are adapting to this year, starting to see. And connected to some of those EPR rules and separate laws, there's also what are known as truth and labeling laws about making recyclability claims. There's still, recycled content laws. There's stuff coming up about tethered caps and updating bottle bills and either pro or anti-chemical recycling laws. There's just so much happening at the state level that is really head spinning, right, for packaging companies and their customers to keep up with. And whether or not all of these will have the intended outcomes or not, they're certainly going to demand attention from everyone. And so we see high reader interest in these stories, both just to keep up with what's happening, but also trying to get tips on how to prepare. And so I think it's unavoidable in the next couple of years.
Okay. before I get into my next question, though, I did want to just comment, the tethered cap item. I'm actually, as a consumer, quite happy to see that.
Mm,
I I I don't know how bad of an litter issue that we have here in the United States. I know it depends on the area of the country, but I did see something earlier this week about some research that they had done in the UK, and it's actually kind of sad. The numbers are quite high of I think it was like 1 in 4. So what is that,
mm,
25%? Right? 1 in 4?
yeah,
Somebody's always got to
yeah.
check my math. Um, I believe that was the number, that they admit that they've littered in the last year.
Wow.
And 75% of those, and this again is in the UK, and 75% of those who admit to littering hide it because they're embarrassed about it. And it's like, well, then
Mm.
why do you do it? Anyway, so I'm really glad to see the tethered cap thing move along. And I know it gives it a little bit more of a, a little uh, additional concern when you're already working with tamper evident closures.
Mm.
So we'll see. Our suppliers, as you well know, our closure manufacturers are pretty dang smart. So I think they're going to figure this out pretty quick. And I do hope that that extends throughout the country. That's the thing about these state laws.
Right.
Manufacturers, product brand owners sell nationally. And, trying to manage those state by state laws is going to be a little bit tricky.
It sure
So,
is. No, and on the point of the caps, it's already happening in the EU, right? And so it's interesting to see. I have yet to see many of them myself on the shelf around here where I am,
yeah,
but as design challenges go, it's probably less complex than some of the other things that folks are having to think of right now.
sure, sure, definitely. Oh man, like you say, head spinning, head
Yeah.
spinning. So, going back to the major trend of regulation, specifically at the sustainability level, sustainable packaging level, what advice do you have for the folks who are going to be dealing with that in the next year or two?
Hmm. The first one, I mean, it may sound obvious, but engage if you're not already. We've seen this is very anecdotal, but just based on seeing comments on LinkedIn and such, some folks are maybe choosing to wait on registering in the EPR programs. They're trying to avoid it. This is not the biggest brands, but maybe smaller folks.
Hmm.
From what I'm hearing from people, that's not going to work out, right? These laws are not expected to go anywhere. It is time to engage, get your specs right, get your data together, be prepared to report on this stuff at a minimum, do that. And then beyond that, it's tricky. I mean, I think, as you say, every state's a little different so far. And so trying to find those common threads of where, obviously you don't want to make design change state by state. That doesn't help anyone.
Yep.
So trying to find those common threads and keeping in mind too, when folks are making these recyclability claims, is that being vetted on the back end? There's plenty of groups doing studies and all this now, but we still see a wide range of claims about what is considered recyclable, what is not, depending on where it can go. Many companies I know already do this, but engage with the groups that actually work with the recyclers, or even better, go to the recyclers themselves. Ask them,
Hmm.
can
Yep.
this get taken through the MRF? Is there a market for this? Um, and because that's also something regulators are keeping in mind as they're implementing these laws.
Well, I know in what I've read on some of the EPR laws, Oregon is the only one that has something drafted, fully drafted, I guess. I don't know, Cole, is that like final or is it still being vetted? Do you know the Oregon one?
It's a good question. I know reporting requirements just kicked in.
Okay,
And so I believe I would have to triple check on the status, but it is up and running in terms of
okay,
that first phase. And the
yep,
next phase comes this summer.
okay. All right, well, we'll see how things start going along with that. But, state by state, I think a lot of people are still keeping their eye on California because they seem to be the gorilla in the room as far as the EPR laws go, but they, are still making their way. Not there yet.
No, and now that the governor's kind of sent them back to the drawing board on the regulations, folks
Yeah.
are confused, frankly, about what the timeline will be going forward there.
Yep, yep. All we'll see. But thank you for that. I think that is good advice. Was there anything more? You said that was anecdotally. Was there more advice that you had for them, or was that it?
No, I'll
Not
keep it
not
simple.
that that wasn't good
Oh,
enough.
sure. No, I try to avoid too much advice, so I'll keep it simple there. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I understand that you're actually going to be speaking at a couple of sessions, and you've got the trends one that we're talking about, but then you're going to do a deeper dive into extended producer responsibility, specifically in that tri-state area, which New York, New Jersey, what's the third?
Connecticut.
Connecticut. Okay, thank you for that. Sorry, I'm not from the East Coast.
That's fair.
So that'll be interesting to see how that one comes along. And then you've also got a Q&A that you're going to be doing with Jonathan Quinn at the U.S. Plastics Pact, Sustainable Packaging at a Crossroads. Can you keep moving forward? So those are the three that I know about. Are there other sessions that you're going to be presenting at MD&M East, or is that it for now, the
Yeah.
three?
No, there's one more. It's still in the kind of formative stages, but we're
Okay.
hoping to have a session on federal trends, wherever the news of the day stands by the time of MD&M East,
Okay.
specifically tariffs and any federal regulation or deregulation, as well as tax discussions that may be happening in Congress at that time.
Okay, awesome. And I don't know if I mentioned or not, but MD&M East is going to be May 20th through the 22nd at the Javits Convention Center in New York City. Cole, thank you so much for the little bit of a preview. And of course, we're going to invite folks to come on down and head over to MD&M East.
Thank you, Lisa. Look forward to seeing everyone there.